When Rejection is Protection. Written and narrated by Sister Mandy Griffith. I was listening to a Christian author discussing many key points in the life of Joseph. As many times as I've heard this beloved account, a phrase caught my attention and kept resounding in my mind. His rejection was God's protection. Could that be? I had not acknowledged rejection to hold a positive connotation before. Indeed, the rejection of his brothers set off a chain of events that ultimately ended up protecting not only Joseph's life and elevating him to leadership in Egypt, but also protecting the house of Israel from famine and sparing future generations to fulfill God's plan. But rejection never feels like protection, does it? In the moment, rejection is crushing. Feelings hurt, hopes squashed, self-worth obliterated, hearts broken. In the moment, the intensely raw emotion of pain is all we feel, all we see, all we understand. But God has a plan. God has foreknowledge. He sees beyond the moment and knows what's best. He can turn present rejection into future protection. Here are 3 testimonies that illustrate this concept. Names eliminated, but true accounts to prove the notion well. Testimony number 1. A young girl was bullied by 3 mean girls, beginning in the 5th grade. Although she wanted their approval and friendship at first, they consistently made fun of her for their own amusement and harassed her just for kicks. But God protected this young girl throughout the years because even though the rejection continued, she grew stronger and stood upon the foundation in which she was taught by her parents, not compromising her values and trusting the Lord. For reference, Mean Girl number 1 became an unwed mother by age 17. Mean Girl number 2 suffered from substance abuse and severed relationships with her parents. And Mean Girl number 3 was killed in a car crash while driving drunk. The young girl has been preserved and blessed, thriving as a servant of God. Her rejection was God's protection. Testimony number 2. A brother was praying for a job to provide for his family. He waded through job postings and found a job that he felt was the perfect fit for his skill set and education. He applied, was interviewed, and it was inferred that he would be offered a role in the company. Feeling confident in this opportunity, he began anticipating this new path. However, as he waited for the follow-up call to confirm the hire and secure the employment, the follow-up call never came. Worried and confused, he reached out to the company several times, to no avail. What happened? Did they change their mind? It wasn't until a few weeks later that this brother read in the newspaper that the company was exposed for fraudulent activity. Several employees were indicted, and the business went defunct. His rejection was God's protection. Testimony number 3. A college student had been praying for God's guidance in life, for a career, for a spouse, and for spiritual growth. She had been dating the same person for several years and felt that this could be someone to share her life with. After 1 year of marriage, her husband rejected her and he turned his affections toward another. This rejection jeopardized not only her natural course of life, but destroyed her spiritual covenant between the marriage and God. In the moment, the rejection felt like all things were ending. But years later, God's protection restored her life, providing a spouse, children, a career, and a place in the gospel. Her rejection was God's protection. I would not have easily equated rejection and protection as having any compatibility before, but as the Lord lovingly reminds us, He can certainly use harm for good. But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass as it is this day to save much people alive. Genesis 50:20. Individually, our rejection today can be God's protection for the future. Collectively, the world has rejected the house of Joseph, but God has a people, a forgotten people. Their rejection is God's protection, and He will unfold His marvelous plan for their future in these, the latter days.